Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's recording. Oh, okay. Um, yeah, obviously the maps aren't perfect because they're not perfect resolution. But do you find anything wrong with these maps in the Book of Sappho?
What do you mean? No, there's no problem. I have no problem with these maps.
Okay, so I think we're both familiar what's been sunken under Japan, right? The new
Say that
place.
again.
Um, okay. Well, I'm gonna have to look it up. I don't remember the exact name.
Mhm.
So it's weird doing this. So Japan, underwater sea, yeah, underwater city, yeah. So, do you know this place in Japan? Jima?
Yonaguni Jima. Yeah, I've seen the pictures.
Yeah.
And, I think it's grasping at straws. I'm not saying that it isn't from Pan uh, cities that were on the continent Pan. I'm not saying that's not the case. I'm just saying there's no proof that it is. It's possible, but I'm not excited about it because uh, we found some building structures underwater. That does not. It's not. It doesn't. It's not enough proof. We need something more certifiably evidence that this is actually from the continent 24,000 years ago. It could be something from Japan 15,000 years ago. There's earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. There's a great volcanic eruptions and earthquakes all the time in Japan. So there could be a lot of shifting of land. So it doesn't mean that it isn't from Pan. I'm just saying it's a big step to say that. Yeah, you can say it, but you're grasping at straws if you do. You need more evidence than that.
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
possible. It's possible.
yeah.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying we don't know that's from Pan. It's possible, but you have to remember Japan has lots of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. So it's quite possible this is just an ancient city from Japan over.
Okay. So that was 8,000 BC. We carbon dating. I took an archaeology.
Well, okay, well that right. Okay, so the carbon dating would prove that it was not from Pan because we're
Well,
talking 24,000 years ago.
yeah, but you got to understand carbon dating is very rookie. It's very rookie techniques. Like if you like a snail, let's just look at a snail carbon dating. So a snail um a living snail can be carbon dated up to 27,000 years ago. So this is nothing is really proved with carbon dating. No, it nothing makes carbon dating is just not very accurate.
Mm-hmm.
The 27,000 years old, a living snail is 27,000 years. So we can't prove anything with carbon dating. I just think that's the worst technique possible. Nothing's accurate. So yeah,
Well,
you're right.
so
24,000.
anyway, if you know anything about the history of Pan, you would know that they didn't build great big structures and big pyramids. They, as far at least according to what they said in Oahspe, it was just small villages and things and some walls. So my conclusion is that this is not from Pan because big rock and structures, that was not the way things were going back then. If you just go by the narrative.
So you think this is something that the Oahspe doesn't cover?
It's just something from Japan, ancient times, because the Druks, if you believe there were Druks, and I'm not sure that I do, or if you believe there were Ians, which I'm also not sure there were, neither of them made big structures. like this,
Okay.
huge stone buildings.
So, okay, from
It's not.
Pan.
I'm not saying. Not based on what they said in Oahspe, but
So, all right, we
maybe
don't know about Japan.
there's some other group. Maybe I'm messed up in my history, but
Yeah.
I don't think they started building big structures until after Pan was sunk. Then the people of the world started getting more advanced. Any comment about that? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get my? Does it make sense what I'm
Not
saying?
really. Not really.
Well, the Ians built small walls around their villages. Ians lived in small villages, okay? And the Druks were too stupid to build anything. So that means neither of them built this with whatever they found in the water. Does that make sense?
Well, it could have been the Ions who built it.
Yeah, but that's afterwards. They came later. The submersion of Pan came before they existed. The Ians,
No,
again,
I don't. Okay, the Ions were actually the Ions were 78,000 years ago, according to Wapsi. They were created 78,000 years ago. So the breeding between the drunks and yeah.
where are you getting that information? You could be very right.
Oh, 70,000.
Where are you getting it from?
Wapsi. So how do I open this other tab? Whoops, sorry. I don't want you to see that. I'll edit that out. So 78 1,000 years ago. All right. So humanity formed 78,000 years ago. That's in Wikipedia.
Yeah, well,
Wikipedia
that's Adam.
never a
That's
great
the
source, so.
Asu. Yeah. Those are the Asu, Matthew. The Asu started.
The Sioux. That's when the angels with
Right.
the embryonic angels, the fetos.
Yeah, I mean, I can be totally wrong about all this, and that the Eons started like 60,000 years ago. I mean, it's quite possible I'm wrong.
So I don't really like to use this, but it is the standard edition. So if we go 78, okay. 78,000. This is when 78,000 years ago is when when Esu mated with the
Right.
fetos.
Yeah, and I have to be honest with you. I am not a believer in these race things. I wrote about it. I mean, I can, if we take the assumption that they did exist, I can talk with you about it. But to be upfront about it is my point of view is they never existed at all.
Okay.
And
So what's your alternative?
there's no skeleton. There's no evidence of their bones anywhere.
Well, okay, I can actually comment on that. So, all right, we know they went to Japan. We know they went to Japan. We know they went to Guatemala.
Who are they? Who are they?
The ships. The Guatuma was Guatemala. That was Guatemala. That was where the ships were sunk. That's where the ships were afterwards sunk for a good reason. They were told
I'm not saying there weren't people living on Pan. I'm just saying that I'm not sure there were any races different than you and me there. Over.
Right.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is there may have been ships that escaped the sinking of Pan, but it was anyway. I'm not convinced yet of the races ever made.
Here's some. This is what I have to say. Okay, Guatemala is a very short country. So according to Wapsi, from my understanding, that's where they came. They named it, that country, yes, is Guatemala, but they named the whole northern Guatemala and southern Guatemala, North and South America. So the average, why are Guatemalans so short? Well, that's a fact. That's a fact that they're short. They are very small people. So we also know,
5 feet tall.
yeah, what
5 feet tall. I would say 5 feet tall. You could take Europeans 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, and they were probably 5 feet tall also.
Well, relatively, they were very small. The Dutch are very tall. I mean, relatively, the Guatemalan people are very. Okay, all right, yeah, we can look at this.
It says right there, Guatemalans are about 5 feet tall. I'm telling you, if you go back a couple, maybe not even 1,000 years ago, the average height of the male Caucasian was probably about 5 feet. It's only been as nutrition improved that we got taller over. So 5 feet was probably average everywhere in the world, no matter what race you were. Over.
Okay.
I mean, if Ians existed, they're probably like 3 feet tall, 3 to maybe 4 feet, but certainly not more than 4 feet tall.
So well, just look at this. All right, you see Pan? That shape right there. So that according to the Oahspe, that's where all the short people should be, on the outskirts of the Ring of Fire. Okay, they should be.
Say that again.
They should be. What's that?
Please say that again.
So Pan is where the boats left. That's where the short people should be. That's where the Ihuns should be. You understand? That, and I can prove that these countries are have the shortest people. The Ring of Fire has the shortest people. Now look, this link. All right, they're all at, I don't know where that is. Timor, that's 8. Timor is the shortest people. I don't know where this is.
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
We'll just take a look at it. Ring of Fire, yes.
I won't argue with you that there's a lot of people.
Ring of Fire, yes. Madagascar. Did they say it? Well, Madagascar, the Africans went to, do you remember? That was Ham that went to Madagascar, right?
I don't think they ever mentioned Madagascar.
Here's Guatemala, the fourth smallest breed of people in the world. Okay, Philippines. That's the Ring of Fire. That is very much a fire. Nepal is definitely the Ring of Fire. Well,
I think I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I understand.
Yemen, I don't think so. Yemen is not really. Yemen is near Dubai. Bangladesh, that's Ring of Fire. Near the Ring of Fire. It's more closer than India. Mm-hmm. Marshall Islands, Ring of Fire. Cambodia, well, it's near Vietnam. Indonesia, yes, very much the Ring of Fire. Actually, and I know you don't agree with me. I know you don't agree with this site, but it's
okay. I can be wrong.
So no, I don't usually read this guy's stuff. You know who did Study of Oahspe?
What are you talking about?
StudyOfOahspe.com.
Oh yeah.
So he actually did this guy actually who did Study of Oahspe is doesn't seem the most Unitarian guy, but he's actually very intelligent.
I think he puts the cart before the horse, where he's circumstantially, he's tangentially reasoning from things that may or may not be true. He looks for a shred of evidence. Well, look here, the shape of this letter looks like it's Sanskrit, and this looks like, so that means the Panic language. That means Sanskrit's from the Panic language because of this curve in this one letter. There's 2 or 3 characters that look alike, and that means, therefore, we have proof. So I think he goes overboard and tries to reason things, which it's not as logical. In my opinion, he's not that logical, but go ahead.
Okay, so
Well, I really want to, before we declare him as a logical researcher and thinker, I'd like to talk. I'd have to talk about specific cases where you say, look, this is what he says. I don't want to talk about generalities because that's not fair to him either. But if you want to talk about direct evidence, and if you look at the Japanese sunken building foundations that you were talking about, like I said before, Japan has a lot of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, and there's great reason to believe that ancient cities have collapsed into the sea around Japan, and those buildings have not been identified as being older than 24,000 years. So I think everything you read about in Oahspe about the Ians. Well, let's do some research. I admit I cannot recall exactly when Huan started. I thought it was after the sinking of Pan, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I feel like I have to look it up now.
Yeah. Well, something happened to his site. You can't read everything on there. You have to enter a password or something.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah.
It's changed then.
Yeah.
Well, let me. Okay. This is going to prove it. I'm going to look up the city of Oahspe. Is that right? Oahspe? Oas, the city of the sun. The Sun City. I can't stay on much longer. My wife and I are gonna take a walk, but let me just look that up right now. Sun. The Sun Kingdom. Oh, it is Oahspe. So my spelling is correct. The only thing I don't know is when it happened. So I guess I am right. I could very well be right, Matthew, because it talks about Zarathustra, Asha, and the king of Oahspe, the city of the sun. That, with Zarathustra, that was after the sinking of Pan. So any big city, there's no mention of big cities being built on Pan, is what I'm trying to say. I thought maybe like the Oahspe, the city of the suns, was perhaps on Pan, but it's not.
No,
It's in Persia. It's in Persia.
Oahspe is Persia. Yeah, that was Zarathustra.
Right. So there's no real history of big cities ever mentioned in the Book of Lords or something about Pan being this developed huge temples or anything. Everything I read was always, it's the Druks living like, cannibals, and it's the Ians living behind their walls, the small villages, and nothing really got built very big. So that's why I say that's why I'm saying the foundation rocks found around near the edge of Japan seas, it's not very likely to correlate with that.
So this guy's in total agreement with me. This map right here, do you see this map? Okay, so that was Guatemala. That's Guatemala. Here's Pan right here. And we're close to each other. Japan, China, India, the Ring of Fire, Africa, close to each other. It might have been Madagascar that...
I'm not arguing that there wasn't. I believe there was a continent, Pan. I'm not arguing against that at all.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's very vague because, that could be Mu, the continent of Mu. That could be,
I agree. I've written about it. I agree.
Who was it? Was it Aristotle who talked about the one over
Atlantis?
Yeah, Atlantis.
Right.
We don't know what Aristotle really meant. No one knows for sure. I mean, you
It-
can't
it-
definitely say 100%.
I don't know where we're going with this, but I'm not debating with you. I agree. There was a continent of Pan, and the Ring of Fire is an example of that. Japan's a
Yeah.
remnant, and
So,
I'm not disagreeing with you in any sense that there was a
so
continent of
this
Pan
right
that
here.
people lived on it.
Look
The
at
only
this
thing
right
I'm
here.
questioning is, were there really a bunch of pygmy people called Uyans on it? Were there really Druks on there? Maybe.
Yes, there were. That's what the Oahspe does say.
I know
Depending
that
on
Oahspe says it. But my point is, I believe that it may not have been true. That um, the reason, and I've written about this in my book, because there's no archaeology that supports them ever having been there. That's the
yeah.
problem right now. And Neanderthals, they've never even talked about Neanderthals on Oahspe yet. There were tens of thousands of Neanderthals, and we have skeletons of those yet. Neanderthals are never mentioned in Oahspe. So I think the race thing was sort of a wild speculation from spirit world
Well,
over
I don't
over
usually go to this.
panels.
I usually don't go to this website, but it's accurate, very accurate in what
No,
I
look,
assume too.
what you have here is accurate.
Yeah.
This I'm not arguing that Pan existed. I'm not arguing with you at all. I think you're right. I think he's
Well,
right.
yeah,
I
yeah. I
think
didn't
it's
think we were
good.
arguing about that either.
Yeah, we're
I
not
was.
arguing about that. We agree.
Yeah, we just agreed.
We
So,
agree that there was Pan.
yeah.
I'm just disagreeing that there's the Eon fleets. There were boats, but were the Eons? I'm not sure there were any Eons.
Do you see right here? Can you read that right there? Distinction of the 5 Eon fleets from Pan,
Destination, it should say.
a destination. So, just
EEST.
like I said before, we know it was Guatemala. We know it was Japan. Do you see right here?
Mhm.
Japan. Now, I don't know what this is. This is probably northern Japan.
That's Sakhalin,
Okay.
northern.
Now,
It's
this
a
is
island
Vietnam,
off Russia.
Cambodia. This area is Bangladesh. Um,
Yeah,
this is Ethiopia. Not so much Madagascar, but Ethiopia.
yeah, yeah.
So we just look at
No,
here.
no, you'll look, you'll see. He has this really ancient, like the Arpithidius ramidus. He's like says it's 3 feet tall. These skeleton remains, they are from like 100,000 years ago, 200,000 years ago, way before Asu. So this is the contradiction. In fact, these skeletons are even a contradiction of Oahspe's theory of human development. These skeletons, if you look up when these guys lived, if he showed you where these skeleton remains, when these creatures lived, it was like hundreds of thousands of years ago, a million years ago.
You know,
And
I
they do
remember,
not correlate at all. To say those were Eons or something is
yeah,
totally preposterous.
like I remember
I'll do it
being,
right now. I'm going to do it right now. Ard Pithecius ramidus. I'm going to write that in. I'm going to say when did these skeletons existed? And I'll bet you they're like 300 to a million years ago, which is way
well,
against the
that's
us.
that's some carbon dating. That's like saying a snail is like 27,000 years old.
Then there's no science. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's. I agree. There's no science at all.
Well, then we shouldn't be talking about it because no, the carbon dating
But
is not that
but
bad.
carbon dating is not good. It's just not good.
We'll have to have another topic discussion about that. I'll take it from there if you want to. Ardpithesis. I don't want to really argue with you anyway.
Yeah, I don't. This is not a like I never try to argue here. This is not like I'm not trying to argue with you.
Well,
I'm trying to bring out things to the table. You know.
Look at this. 4.4 million years ago. You know that skeleton that this Oahspe study guy in? It says
What?
Wikipedia, over 4 million years ago they lived.
Yeah.
Do you realize that Oahspe's got them like 80,000 years ago? And they're saying, no, they existed 4 million years ago. And here's the guy from this site. Here's the guy from this study of Oahspe site. He's trying to draw he's trying to use these guys as evidence that the Eons existed based on these small skeletons. And it blows me away. 4 million years ago, carbon dating or not, that's a big difference. So Matthew, that's why I say this guy is not really scientific. He's just throwing things out there and throwing shit against the wall and hoping it sticks. But it's ridiculous.
The one thing the one thing I was trying to prove was the location of Pan and where the 5 ships spread outward, that they were the small Ioun people, that their genetic links associated with.
The problem is that if everybody's 5 foot tall, that's pretty much the whole world at that point. Because if you go back 1,000 years, people were not 6 feet tall; they were 5 feet tall. So it's not really saying anything to say, well, people in Mayans are 5 feet tall. So what? Because 1,000 years ago, Europeans were 5 feet tall. I'm willing to bet. It's just the past few hundred years that people ended up being average of past few generations. People have been 6 feet tall. You know.
All I'm trying to say is around the Ring of Fire, that's where the short people have the tendency to be.
I don't agree with you, but I don't want to belittle your point. I understand what you're saying. I don't agree with it, but I understand what you're saying. The reason I don't agree is because everyone was 5 feet tall. If you go back in the time, people were just shorter in the past.
I think the Dutch are the tallest people. The Dutch.
Pardon?
The Dutch are one of the tallest.
Right.
The Africans are very tall too.
If you go back 1,000 years, the Dutch were not 6 feet tall on the average. I promise you, they were like 5 feet tall. It's only been in the last.
We're just talking about now where the shortest people live. Not like we're not looking at an average. We're just looking at this immediate point of time.
Right, but
that's where the shorter
people. If you go back in time to when the ships sailed, everybody in the world was that height. Everybody was the same height, short compared to today. So it doesn't really. But Matthew, I do agree that I think there were ships that sailed from the planet. I agree. I don't have a real argument to say why I think there were ships. I think because of all the fables and legends about the sinking. There's so many different people that have cultures that have this story of the flood. That's why I think it's true. That's the Indians, Native Americans have stories about the flood, and they're all over the world. So I really believe
it's everywhere. I mean, to say it was just in the Epic of Gilgamesh, that's really ridiculous. It's like very naive of scientists to say that. It was everywhere. Everywhere was a story of the flood.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you, and I think that's good evidence. If everyone in the world's saying it, there must be a reason why everyone came to talked about a flood. So that makes sense to me. So we definitely agree on that.
Yeah. So a lot of these plates I can get into, like and I have something to say about it, like the tree of language. To me, it seems pretty accurate.
What language?
This right here, this tree.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, it's got some problems. I wrote about it, and it was a long time ago, maybe a year or two ago. And I agree there is such a thing as a tree of languages, sure. But I'm not sure this is that. I don't know how accurate you could say this was.
Well, yeah.
I like the words. I like the writing from this unpublished version. I like it. It's just very poetic and beautiful, I think. Over.
Which one are you talking about?
The words under the tree, the Tree of Languages chapters. I'm not saying that I can't prove everything is true, but I find it very beautiful in the way they describe. But I've written a chapter about each one of these pictures. I've written about it, and it's way off as far as scientific linguistics go. It's not true. It's true in general, only in a general sense is it true. But the way it's organized, the languages, that's not true. It's scientifically been proven. This is not true. It's not real. But
So
but the concept is true that languages evolved from one another. That's true. Over. Um, please read my book
yeah,
to
well,
understand why I say that. All I can do is like dig it out and start reading it now. But
yeah. Well,
Chinese.
you know, these languages, I think, I don't know. Like to me, this
That
I
doesn't
just
mean to know it all.
this the so-called science that man has done with the carbon dating with certain it's just very confusing, doesn't make sense, and then they come out
Mhm.
with the thing of like, how did your eyes evolve? You know, they're really dumb. The scientists these days are just really dumb. um I mean, how do you think the eye evolved? What the Wapsi talks about, that was the first thing that came, right? It's more complex than that, but
Yeah, I see where you're going. It's certainly the eye is evidence against evolution,
yeah.
and I agree totally with you in that sense that the science has gotten things wrong, completely wrong in the past. It's gotten things completely wrong in the present. So I think you're right about that. That science
I'm just
has
really,
gotten things
I'm
wrong.
very hesitant of carbon dating. I'm very hesitant of
I
carbon
have
dating.
to do more research on it. I'm willing to do research on it and then talk to you about it later. But I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying, boy, that's quite an idea for me to grasp, but they got it wrong because I've never heard that before. But
Well, we're dealing with carbon dating was within the last 200 years, right? I mean, how do you
well,
measure something carbon dating for the last 2 years? It's
let me
impossible.
let me do some research and we can get back to this. I've got to go now.
Okay.
Take a walk
All right.
with my wife Chica, and anyway, I hope this helps someone somewhere. If you decide to put it on the internet, I'm sorry if I sound incoherent or biased or I'm not like a know-it-all or something. I don't want to. I acknowledge that I can be wrong about everything, even if I didn't sound like I don't sound like I believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true about me. I've been I'm the type of person who is always earful
See,
of
yeah,
of new things, and
yeah,
I'm always willing to grasp those.
yeah. He's saying that Neanderthal is a druck, but the drucks have long arms.
Yeah.
Neanderthals have short arms, so it doesn't match up. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'll keep
Yeah,
going.
I saw that. I didn't really know. The drugs have long arms. Yeah.
Right, and these Neanderthals are known for having short arms, so it doesn't work.
Big
Um,
torsos.
yeah. Anyway, it's too. So that's why I don't think this study of Oahspe thing. He's just grasping at straws and trying to make it work. He does a lot of research,
Yeah.
but it's like taking a bunch of pieces to a puzzle, and they're from different puzzles, and trying to make them fit.
Yeah.
And some of the pieces will fit, but then he just tries to draw. He's just trying to support all the. He's just always trying to support what's in Oahspe. And I find that it's better just to be open to the idea that some things in Oahspe may not be true. And when I
Mhm.
accept that idea now, because if Newbro is willing to change Oahspe, to take parts out and put parts in, then we have to say to ourselves, well, what is true? And in some ways, the scientific parts really don't matter. What matters is the spiritual ideas matter more than any of this. So we're kind of wasting our time, maybe even debating whether the Ians existed or not, or whether they went on to live in the ring of fire. It really doesn't matter. What matters is what can we do to make the world a better place based on the core values of Oahspe. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah,
I think that's what I want to discuss with you more.
yeah.
Because
There's a lot of things making the world a better place. Technology is,
yeah,
a lot of things. But
I mean, if you look at what the faithist groups are discussing, they discuss exactly what we discussed today, and it doesn't matter whether. I mean, it does matter. I think. I mean, what's the truth is, but we'd be better off trying to discuss how to make the world a better place based on the core ideas of Oahspe. That's what I think.
well, also, I think that we can. I mean, if you read the Oahspe and certain parts of it, it gives you invention ideas, and it one thought leads to another, leads to a bigger
Okay.
thought.
Well, I agree that the idea about limitless energy with the vortexes and maybe Tesla, and there seems to be a correlation there. I'm not against science research and saving the world through limitless energy, but it's the conflicts that are in our society and how to form a community that works together well. That's what I think that's what I think where our mental questions should be leading us. How can we learn how to live together in peace and love
Yeah.
and service? So I really think that's going to be my next request, is that if we do any kind of conversations, it should be how can we have the world live together in harmony.
Then I might get into politics.
No. Well, it could. Well, maybe it will, but I hope not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no, I don't think so. It's how can I'm not talking about reforming society. I'm saying how can we form our own better society? Not an American society, not a French society, nothing political, not Democrat, not Republican. Just form a better society, a community. That's what a spiritual society, a spiritual community. How can we do that? Is it possible? Is it impossible? That's what I want to
It's
know.
possible, but I think capitalism has some flaws, just like.
I'm not even going there. I'm not even going to capitalism. I'm saying, forget everything that's ever been tried or done. What can we do? Is there anything in Oahspe that will help us become a better society? No.
Hey, gotta go, time up.
We're going. I'm going. Bye. My wife's fed up. Gotta go. See you.
You gotta go too, huh?
Bye.
All right, bye.
Thanks, Matthew. Bye. Have a nice week.
Oh, yeah, it's
Have a nice week.
I like to agree, but not always agree, not to disagree, but to agree, because it's very hard with the faithists here, the current faithists.
Yeah, I find I can talk to you easier than most people.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Stay well. Have a great week.
You too.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, bye.
Okay.